Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do a video, a relatively quick lesson, I think, on the topic of hell, and just a point that I want to, um, hammer in, just solidify. That's very, very clear for me, and just for kind of food for thought for people. Um, we have the Bible, which states that an entity, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the highest spirit on the right hand side, committed no sin, came here and died of a grisly death at the hands of humans. Could possibly have been some of us, if you believe in reincarnation, which the Bible supports. Um, but ultimately for the sins of others, not his own. And he is the dark skinned Messiah. And so this is the narrative, one of the focuses of the Bible and its message, is God coming to man, and then man brutalizing him, and rejecting his message, which was just simply, love your neighbor, be faithful, charitable, be merciful, and all that kind of stuff. So this is all at the will of the Heavenly Father, because only He can create people that are that stupid to kill an entity that pure. And so I want to challenge people to think about this point, is that whatever God has made, all the different dimensions and all the things that He has, all the first, second, third heaven, all the different compartments, that He has thought of, and put people, put spirits, put His energy, put His focus, put His attention. The most unfair and evil act was committed here on earth. That has to be the case, because we're dealing with God, God's highest spirit on the right-hand side, a perfect entity being brutalized. And so there is no sin ever that has ever been committed that will be as unfair and evil as that. That, to me, has to be the most evil act ever that God could architect in any dimension, because there could be some just like that. Let's say Jesus was then assigned to go into other dimensions and have to deal with morons like us. That's possible, but let's assume that that's not the case, because we have no reason to believe that. We now have to believe, and I challenge anybody to concoct a more evil act that was committed than that one in ancient Israel, 2,000 years ago. And so now we have I don't want to say the pleasure, the luxury of living on a surface where the most evil act was committed in human history. And I'm challenging people to think about ever, not just human history, just anything that God could ever think of could not be worse than that. And so this is a stamp of Earth, and so we unfortunately now have to deal with the fact that the place that we live right now is the scene of the most grotesque crime that is ever committed in human history, and in all dimensions. And so this has to be hell by definition. There could be other places that are equally bad potentially, but they would have to have had a sin committed on that level. And again, like I said, we don't have a reason to think that that's happening. So this is hell. Anybody who is, in my opinion, brainwashed by mainstream Christianity to say that hell is some place where spirits are burning and all that kind of stuff, that's not as evil as what happened here. I want people to understand that. It's not. If God takes a spirit and then puts it in some place for torment because they did things that were against his laws, and he's giving them a righteous judgment, they deserve that. That's not an evil act. That's reaping what a person sows, and hopefully we're not in that camp to receive any kind of God's wrath here or in the spirit world. But let's just say that there is this, quote, place of hell where people burn for eternity and all that kind of stuff. Spirits burn for eternity. That's not as evil as the act that was committed here on earth. I challenge people to think about that. This is hell. That is not hell. That place that is, in my opinion, whenever it's described that way, is it's allegorical and it's for effect. There's no way that God would take his own energy and put it into a furnace and just burn it and cook it. That's the energy that leaves an entity's body is from God, and whether he's using that energy to condition others is his whole narrative, and that's what I think is happening. And some of those vibrations, some of those energies, some of those souls will just be extinguished, once they're done being needed to condition his actual children, and we hope to be in that group. So that is not literal, but even if it was, that's not as bad as the act that was committed here by hanging purity on a cross, and the way that he died is just, he was brutalized. I don't even know how to say that. Just anybody just literally touching Jesus and just spitting on him or doing anything, that alone is bad enough, because again, this is a perfect and pure entity who was in the very least involved in co-creating the earth and everybody on it. So, and did not warrant treatment anywhere near that, obviously. And so even something as small as just spitting on him or, ridiculing him, that's bad enough, much less hanging on a cross. And so this is the home of evil. This is the home of the most evil act that God could ever think of. And so now we have to ask ourselves, in light of that truth, which again is the very foundation of the entire Bible and its narrative, and ultimately what's happening we can't know fully, but God, quote, needed that act to happen, and so this is an entity that is very, very worthy of worship, because even with his last breath, he's still asking God to forgive those that did that to him. And so, which makes the act even more evil. And so this is not funny, but I want people to really break loose from a lot of the things that we've been taught, not just Ball Earth, which is antichrist and demonic and satanic. And I'll continue to say that because that's what it is, and also this whole doctrine that Christianity, Catholic Church, all these 501c3s, all these organizations, really corporations, they function just like a corporation with the hierarchies and financial motive and all that kind of stuff. They've sold this concept of hell, but what that is to distract from the reality of this is hell. We're living in hell, and there's people who are experiencing more hell than others. That's true, without a doubt. But the Ball Earth deception is an excellent example of hell for every human. We've been lied to our entire life about our reality, manipulated into believing atheism, even sort of passively, and then we just become a slave, just a vessel for government propaganda. And even if we don't fully believe it, we're absorbing it, and so we all have, to some extent, been indoctrinated by Ball Earth, which is fundamentally needed for atheism. So, there's different amounts of hell, but that's hell. That is one form of hell, is being lied to, being told the complete opposite. And then the most, like I said, obvious example that this is hell is, again, this is the home, the unfortunate place where purity was crucified. And then we have other examples on a more human level where babies who have not even done anything right or wrong are just aborted, and killed, and young innocent kids are just raped, molested, and all that. So there's even more examples from a human perspective, but like I said, the one that will always be the worst. No other example can be contrived or put with humans, us. Millions, billions died, whatever. It will never compare to purity hanging on a cross. This is the place where the most evil act has ever been committed, hopefully ever. And we never want anything like that again in any dimension, anywhere. And that entity is very, very worthy of worship. And so to me, this truth is very, very important to understand the Bible, and also very, very important to understand the end times, because many of us know this now, that we're living in hell for a lot of different reasons. And then we also know now that God is behind it. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.